Alrighty, so let's talk about our week 2 second item, learn together. So in this section that you just finished, and I'll just move over to the boot camp just to review for a second here. This section on objects is a little bit longer. I totally understand how it can get to be much, and you'll probably hear me repeat this, but I wouldn't, if I was you, complete both the learn together. I should see this in the reverse, the code along and the learn together in the same sitting. I just don't think it's going to be beneficial. But the truth is, I don't know you. You're going to know how this feels to you when you look at the work that I'm asking for. And having said that, this is also, again, almost, I say this every time, so I fear I repeat myself. But this section, a lot of content and a lot of really important stuff. Okay. This idea of understanding objects, how to use functions, how to write functions using objects, we call those methods, how to understand the way it's referenced when it's passed in. And again, the challenges are so important for you to give those time and actually using functions in here, just inside of functions methods, actually writing them on methods, which you will see, writing them on objects. And these last two are really good to place into this because you see the use of objects. And by this, I mean the dot operator all the time. So understanding how to write your own and then how to use the built in ones in the language, so important. And he ends with the idea of exploring the methods for strings and numbers, which I would tell you, I'm rethinking my code to kind of think about how I could do some of the splicing, really important, but all of those methods and really talking about MDN, right? So I'm just going to tell you, MDN is such an important reference. It is really the most commonly referenced documentation. Oh, they've changed their page since the last time I was here. Look at this. This is awesome. So, spending some time walking around this site is good, but then just searching for whatever you're looking for is good as well. But sometimes it can get overwhelming. So, in the reference, right? So, if we wanted to go references and then we wanted to jump right to the JavaScript part, I guess it was on this page already. This standard, if you and I get that it's hard to read this documentation, which is something you learn over time, and you end up just getting better at searching for the things that you're looking for, using the more appropriate terms. So I'm just telling you, the more time you spend here, the more beneficial it will be. Okay, so that was just going over, and he ends with 26, which is really talking about the var. And let me just tell you this from a style guide, which I've already talked about by the time you heard this in the attendance, right? For our class, our style is we do not use var for variables, but I want you to know because you will see code out there and why you use it, or why you see it and why you shouldn't use it is what I meant. Okay, so that's just a brief look at that. So here's what I want you to do, kind of like Monday. So what I did is I took my code for my morning task and I implemented objects and methods. Okay. And first thing I want you to do, here's my link, right? I already had it up. I didn't need to do that. Right click, inspect, and I'm going to give you again the line number, right? So remember, it drops into by default the index page. You come over to sources, click on the JS file, and then you will find my code that I want you to set breakpoints on. Okay, so but let me just briefly talk about what I did. Is I kept the show on page as its own function. I'm using const, which he talks about in this section. And I could have used const for each one of these because oh, no, I actually shouldn't have done that. Oh, no, because I'm not redefining it. Yeah, I could have done that. So what I did though is I set up an object for each day, okay, that had my input of start time, current time, my turn to drive, and I set it up for 3 days. Now, there's a reason I set it up for 3 because I wanna make sure it tests all the branches of my logic, and you wanna do this as well. Um, but let me just keep going through here. So then I set up an object, a different object, then with get task. And inside of there, I wrote methods, one to determine time before gym and one to determine morning task. Okay. And I also put one for show task that calls the show on page. Now, I know this is a lot to look at, which again is why I want you to set a breakpoint at 63 this time, reload the page, and walk through my code. And in this case, when I say walk through, I think last time I said this as well. What I really mean is step through. Step through means execute this line. So when I click step, it actually is going to invoke. Call is another way you will hear this termed, this function, which we now know what that, at least we know what it's doing, right? It's passing in a string in this case. So that's pretty clear. But now you're going to see my get task, which is my object for my functions. Within this case, we would call methods. So these are my methods on this object, determine time of day. And now what I can do is just pass in that whole object. Okay. Sorry, that object called, in this case, Monday. So when I pass in the object called Monday into determine time before gym, right? That reference then is, and we abstract things so that we don't have to write code that's specific, meaning I wouldn't want this to be called Monday because I want to call it with different days. So this method is going to determine time by saying time or day dot gym class start time. So what I'm doing here is I'm passing it in, right? It's referencing for my Monday object the day, which is the abstracted, we're passing it in as an argument, dot gym start time minus day dot current time. Now, if you're not sure, right, and let's just actually continue on here, okay? So what you can do is if you leave your mouse over this, you can actually see what is in this object coming in, right? Again, we're passing it here. So I'm going to, this is what I want you to do. I want you to spend as much time as you can. Oh, I must have stopped it accidentally. And by the way, you can always just hit, let me refresh again, right? If you ever wanted to just run through the code, you could press this. But the point of this is to spend some time understanding what my code is doing, right? Ask questions. I talk about this in the write up. Ask questions, right? If you don't have a question, maybe a comment out on Discord. These are great places to do it. So, but my get task, determine time before gym, get task, determine morning task, passing in the objects that I wanted. Then I did the show on page, passing in my Monday task. So I want you to walk through each of these to help you better understand by seeing another example of how to use objects. Okay. So this is what I was saying. Ask questions. Take your code from Monday's Learn Together and copy it into a new folder. W2T, I can say that, in your public repo, right? And refactor, and here's like the key statement here, refactor most of your code. So what you want to do here is you want to just flex your muscle by taking the objects that you've written, figuring out a way that you could, in your own unique way, given what you've learned, given what I've shown you, how to use objects and methods for your particular code. Okay. And then used my code to output to the browser. This is nothing new. When you copy this stuff over, it'll be there. And then reply with your Get Hack link, right? Again, we talked about that on Monday. So review that video back on Monday if you need help. But you actually, like I said, here, once you get that link from yours on Monday, all you have to do is open it. And I showed this, right? And then just change the directory name, and that is the new link. So it's pretty easy from now on once you have it. And then the reply was something about your experience to at least two of your fellow students. Okay. So I just know that the more, and I know you're going to say, "Real, you're harping on this," and it's true. I am because the more time you spend watching and understanding and using the dev tools, I'm actually going to talk about the dev tools and the attendance because there are now new tools inside of VS Code that are being touted, but I still think Chrome DevTools is the best thing out there. There are dev tools on Firefox and other things as well. As long as you can step through the code, see the variables, right? Now, over here, there's a lot of information you could kind of figure out just based on what it is, right? So there in this script, we have get task, right? Get task in this case, and it doesn't say it explicitly, right? But it's an object that has a couple of methods on it, right? Here's another object. How can you tell? Well, this clear is pretty easy to understand what these are. And it's basically saying in this script, here are all the variables that are determined. You can also, like I said, there's just so much in here, but I don't want you to try to understand everything for today, this week. What I want you to understand is just how to set a breakpoint, how to step through, and then how to look at some of the output that gets created just by rolling your mouse over as a way to study this code. So it's basically just a way to help you understand what this code is doing. And the more time you spend with it, the more it will make sense. I know I'm repeating myself. Okay, I hope this video helps you. I'll be at this point now. I am actually going to, because I do record both videos. So now what I will be doing is recording the attendance one so that I can release week 2. All right. Talk to you later.